So good morning. My name is Sorka Finucane and I am the owner of Trained In. Trained In is a dedicated platform for training and consultancy services, and it's a marketplace where people can showcase their business and their services on a global platform. Um, we are working with Tate of Success SkillNet at the moment, and we are showcasing all of the providers who are registered on Trained In to give them a direct link to you, our potential customers, so that they can showcase their business and services and hopefully give you some tidbits and some good supportive takeaways for these crazy times that we're working in. Today that we have Claire O'Connor from Claire O'Connor Coaching, and I would like to welcome you, Claire. And how are you? And tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thanks, Erica. I'm very happy to be here. Hi, everyone. I run Claire O'Connor Coaching, and I am a career coach and leadership coach. So I work with professionals and organizations, and I do some work with sole traders and micro enterprise as well. So the main areas that I cover would be career development, and at the moment, we're looking a lot at career evaluation and progression. I also support micro enterprises and sole traders through their businesses. I do a lot of training and mentoring as well as coaching. And that it's very much focused on where the client is at the time and what they need. I like to work with people in the technical sector and people in practical roles where I work very well there because of my own background. I was an engineer for 15 years before I got to where I am now.
Yeah. Engineering, that's fantastic. What type of engineering were you in?
I did marine engineering in college, and I worked at sea on ships as an engineer for 10 years.
Wow.
That was something different.
That's a very heavily male-dominated area, I'd imagine, is it?
It is.
Wow.
And, it can, at times, would have posed a challenge, but I do like a challenge, so I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I came ashore after that and worked in Ireland as an engineer for a further 5 years before I started my own business. But even that would have been quite male dominated as well, not as heavily. So, and that's led me to, I am really passionate about female leadership, and especially in male dominated industries.
Yeah.
And it's something that is really interesting for me. And because I have that experience, it's an area that I love working in.
Okay, interesting. And I'd say, especially now, there's a lot of work in that area with women's empowerment and women in business, women in tech, and all the different areas where women are really coming up through the ranks and need some support and coaching.
Yeah, exactly. There's fantastic opportunity out there now and support, as you say. It's something that's really at the fore at the moment, and especially in tech, women in tech is hugely supported. There's lots of initiatives, loads of companies, like big tech companies, backing this.
Yeah.
Women in engineering is, not so much at the fore, which is great because there's lots of work to do there. But there are some really good initiatives there as well, and a lot of the, Engineers Ireland is doing fantastic work. I know that there's a great initiative in the Technical University now, which would have been DIT, on mentoring for female engineers. So in the engineering sector and the technical sector now as well. So they have people coming in from a lot of the big engineering companies, females, and mentoring the students, which is brilliant.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah. Oh, great. I forgot to mention at the start when I was doing an introduction that we can't see you and we can't hear you. But if you want to use the chat facility to ask any questions of Claire, please use it. And we're going to be running some polls. We'll share some files with you throughout the webinar. So just started a poll there at the moment. Have you ever worked from home before? So it'd be interesting to kind of gauge the level of the people who we have on the call. If you all work from home, I think the majority of people on the call would be working from home at this stage. But have you worked from home prior to the COVID-19 situation that we find ourselves in? It'll be interesting to kind of to know that. We've also had a couple of more people join the call. So good morning, Bridie, and good morning, Kate. Hope you're well. We've just gone through an introduction there with Claire and heard some interesting points about your background. Claire, do you want to just look at the poll? Well, we've got 80% of people have said that they have worked from home before. This is before the COVID-19 outbreak, and 20% of people haven't. So we have a mixture of both people on the phone. So I think this should be really interesting to both parties, because I really think regardless of whether you worked from home before, it's very unlikely that we've worked in this, I suppose, continuous period where you are unable to go anywhere else or to go to meetings or to go into the office. So it's the manner and how we're working from home at the moment as well. We've gone down actually to 75% and up to 25% who have not worked from home. Interesting. Claire, do you want to start your presentation, and I'll start engaging the people on the call and we can get some questions from people.
Yeah, I'll start now. I'm going to put on the slides here so myself and Circle pop down into a small box in the corner. It is really interesting at the moment because, even, the people who have worked from home previously and those who haven't, we're almost at a stage now where we've done our 2 weeks of lockdown, and now we know that we have 3 more. So it's not a short-term fix anymore. We're looking at something that that will have to get us through at least the next month, and I think it's a chance for people to look at something a little more permanent for themselves.
Yeah,
and we'll talk about that through the presentation. So I'm going to go through the top 10 areas that I think are most important, but what I want everybody to think about is how this affects you. So it's not that I'm going to sit here and tell you what to do and that it's magically going to happen and everything will be okay, because everybody's different and everybody has a different circumstance at home. And it's about looking at what we're talking about and thinking, like genuinely asking yourself the question, how does this affect me and how can I make the most of it? How can I make the most of this advice or these tips and make it work for me? Because, there's no one quick fix for everybody here because everybody has different circumstances. So I'm going to move on now and firstly talk about the working environment, because if we go through, our day or our week or how we're setting ourselves up at the moment, then this is the first thing that we have to look at. We have to find somewhere to work. And I have a picture of a kind of a messy desk, which I couldn't really work in that environment. I'd love if I had the second one there with a lovely view. But the thing is, some people could, and that's fine, but it's about what suits you. So what's possible? I mean, some people are lucky enough to have a dedicated study or office or room that they could work in, but some people don't. And, I've heard a lot of stories about people having to, the one person in the house is working and the other isn't, and they have kids, and somebody, due to Wi-Fi or just the room or the space, needs to use the kitchen table, and then the rest of the house are staying out of the kitchen all day and they're trying to keep the kids busy, and it's a really stressful environment for everyone. So the thing is that now that we know that we have another few weeks of this, it's about looking at what other options are there for you. Like if you have a spare room, push the bed up against the wall, put it on its side and push it against the wall. You can buy desks online, and I know that there's a company making working at home desks, and they're cut out of plywood and you can assemble them very easily yourself. So there's plenty of option there, and it's about making life as easy as possible for you. We touched on it there, like, who do you have to consider? Who else is in the house? You know, are there kids there? Do you have a partner? The thing is that at this stage, you know, to establish boundaries, so to communicate clearly that this is where you're at, you know, this is your working day and this is how it's going to happen, and have a conversation about what works best for you and your partner. Some households have two people working and the kids, and I know a lot of people who are taking shifts, and maybe one person works 6 a.m. to 12 and the other person works 12 to 6 or something like that, and they mind the kids outside of that. So there's a lot of thinking outside the box here that can really help you. Sometimes it's very hard to work, you know, if you might feel like everyone else is on holiday in the house except you, and it makes it a little bit difficult to work. But I mean, it's just something that has to be done.
I'll just run the next poll there, actually, Claire. What is the most stressful thing about working from home? So there's a couple of options on this next poll. The structured environment, children, pets, flatmates, or people who share a house, or unstable Wi-Fi's or broadband issues. I think you're right. It's very different at the moment because even if the kids were off on school holidays, there's still the alternatives of creches and camps and childminders where you don't have that at the moment, or even family members to be able to babysit, because there is no babysitting. And I know there is also, and some friends of mine, where one of the people in the household is going out to work because they're an essential worker, and the other person is still working from home, so they're managing the little people all on their own, and it's so hard to do it and to still stay engaged. And I suppose your employer is going to have expectations. I imagine that employers have voiced what their expectations are of people from working from home when they do have children and whatnot. Do you have any tips for people who are in those kind of situations?
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is that people are so compassionate, you know. I mean, and at the moment, we're really seeing the best of people. And I don't know how many people have said it to me in the last few weeks that they have been on calls with people and there's kids screaming in the background, and there's, you know, different things going on, and they really don't mind because everybody understands that it's extraordinary circumstances and that, you know, people are under that pressure. And I think for people to maybe alleviate some of that stress, it's just to have that conversation with your boss, because maybe there is an option to work around the hours, or, you know, that they, like, I find that a lot of the time we put ourselves under more pressure than anybody else does.
Yeah.
So to clear this up, it'll relieve a lot of our own stresses.
It's interesting looking at the polls. 20% of people will say that they need to be in a structured space. And I find that myself as well. You need to get yourself organized for the day and set up and structured so that you can put yourself into that zone where you're, I'm in business mode now, and I'm working and this is what I need to get through. But then you have your distractions. Like, I have two puppies here who hopefully will be quiet. And then I have a housemate as well, and I'm looking at the other answers to the poll. 40% of people have pets who want to play. I know. And you can't put them into another room because then that just doesn't work. So that's gone down to 33% now. And then another 33% have housemates who share the same space, and then unstable Wi-Fi. It'd be interesting to know, do the housemates who share the same space, are they also working from home, or are they just not working at all? And unstable Wi-Fi, I get it here. My Wi-Fi drops nearly at the same time every day, just before the webinars come on about 8:45, 9:45. So it's kind of, how do you get? Well, I suppose there's nothing you can do about the broadband. You just have to hope that it comes back up. But it's interesting to see the dynamics there. It's gone up to 37, and so 37% of people need a structured environment.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, because children seem to be coming in on the lowest.
Nobody's actually mentioned children at all. There's zero about children.
Which is good, I suppose.
Maybe nobody on the call has children. That's
Yeah.
why they're all on the call.
It is, and I would find the same thing about the structured environment. I know when I would have worked from home for a long time, and I would have worked from home for a long period of time, on and off. And then when I started my business, I worked from home for a long time, setting it up. And I set up a space and I got everything ready. And then I found after a while it just wasn't working for me, because I had it downstairs in the sitting room, and I kind of felt I was having my cup of coffee in a chair, and then I was standing up from that chair and walking across the room to work and sitting down. And it didn't feel like an office environment. So I ended up changing my space to a room upstairs. That was my dedicated space for work, and that made a huge difference.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying, maybe about, kind of, it's time to think outside the box and look at where can we do this now? Even if we don't have a dedicated space, is there a bedroom that we can just push everything aside, or is it a shed? I know that a couple of people have told me lately that they've converted their shed into an office for this time, and that it's close enough to the house that they have Wi-Fi there. So also you can get Wi-Fi boosters online, and that will help you if you don't have a great signal, which is another problem I think that people are having. So that's another option that's definitely worth looking into.
I know for me, I live in an apartment, so it's the kitchen table.
Yeah. I know a lot of people, and actually we have the same here. I have a computer set up on their kitchen table at the moment, and even if that's the case, it's about, which is very difficult if you have children or a housemate or a partner, but agreeing, it's not an ideal situation, but agreeing some form of boundary where, okay, well, I can work from 9 to 12 in the kitchen with the door closed, and that becomes my office space. And then we have, it's open for lunch, and then from the, a 3 or 4 hour block in the afternoon, it's the same. And then maybe there's, maybe you can look at something later on your tablet in your room or something like that, if it comes to it that you need to cover another couple of hours. Another thing is, well, actually, I'm just leading on to it now. Like our mental space, it's all about how we view this. So it's how we can view this as our space. And a lot of that is about having kind of markers, and getting dressed is one thing. And also what I've heard a lot of people doing is going for their walk to work. So they get up in the morning, they get dressed, and then they go for a walk for 20 minutes, and then they come home and go to work. So instead of your commute, it just marks.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And you go straight into your working environment. And, you can mirror as much as you can what you had at work. So take the same, I find it's handy, because take the same breaks, working the same hours if you can, it's great.
But I also find as well, get up, make your bed, have a shower, get dressed. The go for the walk thing is brilliant. It puts you into the right frame of mind. That I'm at work zone.
Exactly. And, it makes a huge change to get up, as you say, have that shower, like do your hair as if you're going out, and you'll feel a lot more professional.
Yeah.
It is motivating, and it does mark that change. And then, the first thing that I do every single morning, and I start at the previous evening, is planning the day ahead. So what I've done here on the slide, I've taking a picture of my own scheduler, my own diary, and what I do, I like to write things down. I have a diary on the computer, but this for me is focus. I break my day down into different things. So I start off with my morning lunch, my breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then I structure my day around that. So then I usually I take a little bit of time for organization and email, but not excessively. And then I'll structure the first thing that, like, so eat that frog. I don't know if many people have heard of it, but just to do the hardest thing that you're imagining, do it first, and then nothing else is as bad for the rest of the day. So that's how I do my day. And this works differently for everyone, but the main thing is to have that plan, because if you don't, you're looking down, down a kind of a long day with no structure, and that's very, very difficult to do.
Just get distracted. There's so many distracting things around. Yeah.
And you're not motivated,
No.
It's very hard to motivate yourself when you don't know why you're doing it.
Yeah. And then you get stressed out because you've got loads of stuff to do, but you don't know what you're supposed to do because you haven't organized your mind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So sometimes I'll go for a walk in the middle of the day, depending on what I'm doing. And often I try to avoid wearing stretchy pants all the time, because I won't be looking very well by the end of this if I do. But often I'll put on my walking gear in the morning, actually, if I know I'm going for one at lunchtime, because then I don't have to change into it, and I'll just go straight out the door. And I find that good, and then I can change into my work clothes when I come home. I've also scheduled here, like, it's really important to take your breaks, because, like I said, this isn't a short-term thing anymore. And, at the beginning, I think a lot of people were pushing and working through the day, and then it's very easy to burn out and to exhaust yourself. And, we're looking at different things now as regards taking a break, because we want to try and brighten up our day. So there's lots of different ways, and just a couple of examples are, like, just really enjoy a cup of coffee, especially out in the sun. Listen to a bit of music, or, look up something that's of interest to you, just to mark the fact that it's different from your working day. So then I also, it's a similar thing. I'm just on to the next slide. I just did up a quick table here, and it helps me. Planning and organizing is really important for me, and I just did up a quick table. It's got roughly, so morning, breakfast, work, lunch, work, exercise, dinner, and then to add in a bit of creativity, a bit of relaxation, and then getting ready for bed. So I've just put different ways I can do all of those things. So all of a sudden, then it's not a very long, empty day. You have these things to do, and you have a limited amount of time to get them done in. And suddenly you're busy without having done anything at all.
Yeah.
Discipline is a difficult thing, and it's, for everybody it's different. But, I spoke about establishing boundaries, your working times. It's about communicating those boundaries to people as well. A big thing is to, when we're structuring our day like this, at 5 o'clock or 6 or 7, whenever you decide to finish work and shut down. Obviously there's different circumstances for people, but it's about not overwhelming yourself, because our circumstances aren't ideal, and we have to accept that, but we have to be, we have to take care of ourselves and make the most of our day. I just put a quick link there. Citizens Information have just quite an interesting page there, just some information on working from home, and also your responsibilities and your employer's responsibilities while you're working from home, because while you're far away from them, they're very much involved in this. One thing is that we see a lot, and it's really easy to fall into the trap is the notification overload, because we've so much coming through in our
Yeah.
personal, our personal lives. Everybody's in numerous WhatsApp groups. We've got all our social media, and there's so much information on there. And then we're sitting at home in our environment where we're normally on our own personal, social media or our phone. And we're trying to work then on top of that and receive all our work emails and notifications. So put away your personal devices during the day, as you may normally do at work, and schedule your communications into your day, because that makes things a lot easier. If you can turn off your email notifications for work, do. I find it very distracting when they come up on the screen, and studies have shown us that it takes up to 20 minutes to refocus if we're distracted. Yeah. So I think that's a really important thing, and people understand. I mean, I know, Tim Ferriss even says in his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, he sends an automatic reply out to all of his emails saying that he checks them at 10 and 4 in the day. And if it's an emergency outside of that, to contact him on his phone. And it works really well, people understand, because it is so overwhelming for us at the moment.
Mm.
So there's our time management. I just put up a couple of slides there. The Pomodoro technique, it's just take 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, 25 minutes, 5-minute break. And then after 4 cycles of that, just take a 15. So it sounds counterintuitive, but if you just take that 5-minute break, all you're doing is a stretch or getting a glass of water or something, and then sit back down and get back into it. And I find that you don't get distracted by doing it, but you keep your energy up. And the Eisenhower Matrix is another one for people to look at if they don't know. It's more about looking at what is actually important to be tackling in your day and how to do that. So there are 2 things that people could look up that are very handy.
Just to bring you back to chat, Bridie said it was a great idea to go for the walk during the middle of the day, but Kate came back to say that it's been really hard to stay focused. I find the same thing, Kate, especially when I have 2 little puppies jumping all over me wanting to play all day. It's very distracting and tough. Yeah,
it is very difficult to stay focused, and it's I think that's what the planning really helps me. And actually I've just brought up the goal setting slide. It's about, for me at the moment, and a lot of people I'm talking to, I'm hearing this, people are still trying, like, even though we're working in front of the computer all day, they're still putting in the same hours that they have in work, and they're still trying to work the same way. But it's about trying to work a little differently, because if you're exhausted, if you're spending 8 hours looking at the computer every single day with minimal interaction with people, that's very, very tiring. And for me, and it's been shown that if you have that plan, if you have that daily structure, it helps you to focus and just break it down into smaller blocks and smaller goals, because it's like, I just have the SMART goal setting. So that's, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. And a lot of those things will have changed in the last few weeks for us. So now some things aren't realistic. How achievable they are may have changed. The time frame may have changed on them. So it's about, having patience around that and being good to yourself. And like I said earlier, really looking at this and saying, well, like, how can I remain focused? Because for everyone that's different. These are the main top 10 points to do that. So look at them, each of them, and say, how can I make the most of that? Like, how can I do that for myself, to remain focused? And having patience is a big one. Regular contact. Now this is one that will make that difference also. Some people are really enjoying this. If they're more introverted, they're really enjoying spending the time alone. You know, some kids even are flourishing with the homeschooling, and a lot of people are happy enough to carry on and work away. But a lot of people aren't, because if you're an extrovert, then you get your energy from interacting with people, and if we don't have that, then you know it's very hard to stay motivated. So regular contact with your work manager, colleagues, you know, your team, just even schedule a coffee morning. It's difficult to kind of balance the screen time. I know that a lot of people, because if you're teaching or you're working online, it's very difficult to, you know, the energy is different in the room. So you're doing a lot more work than you probably normally would. But it's about staying in contact and nurturing that sense of belonging that we have in our work team or in our workplace, you know. And then the self-care is extremely important. I really like this slide because it just so simply puts it all together. And, you know, this leads to that focus and that motivation. So physical care, I'll speak in a minute about getting outside. But it's about, you know, eating the right things. Sleep is a big one. And if we're in the house all day and we're not getting a lot of physical exercise, then we won't sleep as well as we normally do. So going out for that walk, or, you know, finding a video on YouTube to do a little home workout will make a big difference. And also that makes a difference to our mental health. Mental care, you know, it's about making things as easy as possible on you. I know that it's difficult, and it's easy for our motivation to creep down and, you know, like become lethargic, and even you know, a little bit kind of depressed sitting in the house all the time. So it's important to be mindful of that and to ask yourself what you need to do. And emotional care, you know, it's a difficult time for everybody at the moment, and we're all missing family and friends and our life as it was. But it's about asking yourself, what can I do for me? You know, does that mean a face mask? Does it mean reading a nice book? Does it mean having a cup of tea in a quiet room? All of those things are still or more important for us now. And check in daily with that, and check in and say, you know, like ask yourself the question, why am I finding it hard to focus? You know, it's, yes, everything has changed, and yes, this is a really difficult time. So with all that taking it into consideration, how can I make the most of this, and how can I focus? And the final one then is to get outside, and that's all part of the previous, you know, the physical, but it's got a holistic benefit. I have a few photos up there, and if any of us are lucky to have, you know, the sea next to us or an outdoor park that we can go to. But I just wanted to highlight that even if we're living in the city, you know, there's still a lot of parks. Like that's the Phoenix Park. It's the only OPW park still open, and that's the Liffey. So we still have a lot of nature around. The middle one it's just a random estate, and look at the amount of nature that we have there, you know. So it's about getting out and getting that fresh air, stretching your legs, getting a bit of exercise, and, you know, coming home feeling satisfied that you've done that, and that you're tired, and that you've earned a sit down, and that you sleep a bit better. But even if we don't have, you know, a lot of nature around us, you know, let in as much light as we can, get as much fresh air as you can, open the windows, open the doors. It's been a great, you know, week or so for that. And you'll see the benefits. That's it, you know, like it makes the difference.
Sorry, I think I was on mute. Especially with the weather at the moment, it's been beautiful outside. just if you go for a walk, don't sit down anywhere. Right, you made the point. I really like the point you made about being ready, dressed for a walk and keeping to a normal day preparedness schedule. It's so easy to get too laid back because we are not at work. Well, it's really no one can see what I look like if I don't activate the video. Yeah, very true, Bridie, very true. I suppose I don't have an excuse because I run the webinars at 10 o'clock every morning, but I really feel that it does get me into that work mode because it's very easy to not get dressed or not have a shower or not do the hair and just sit there and turn the video off. So if you don't have, I suppose you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to manage yourself, really.
Yeah.
And, what are the expectations that you have of yourself for the day? Yeah. But has anybody any questions that they'd like to ask Claire, or if you'd like to say anything to her in advance? I know we've run over a little bit of time, but I've shared Claire's presentation with you if anybody wants to take it away there. Claire also has an offer if anybody wants to click on the offer. It's free 20-minute consultation and €20 off the first session. Siobhan, I found even having the webinar planned this morning made me more productive. Fantastic. That's really good to hear, Siobhan. You could even start doing your own webinars at some stage. I'm not sure what you do, but we have webinars every morning at 10 o'clock. So if you want to be more prepared for the weeks ahead, you know where to find us. So stay tuned. Listen, I want to say thank you very much, Claire, for your time today. I know you're still really busy and still have a lot going on. For one-to-one video sessions, is their phone or computer better? I think if you were an attendee, phone or computer, it doesn't make any difference. If you're a presenter, I would absolutely say computer or laptop myself. What do you think, Claire?
I think if you have the option, a computer is good because it means, like, I find that it gets me focused, and you know, I'm in my space, I'm in my workspace, and I'm looking at it. I feel more professional. I just, you know, with the phone, I feel I'm holding it, and then I don't like the look of my chin, and I'm worried about what I look like, and it distracts me. Whereas, I like this, you know, and especially if it's for a coaching session or anything, it feels a bit more professional and I'm in my kind of designated space. So I like that. But I mean, the phone is perfectly fine if that's what you have. Just go to a quiet room and have little distraction, and it works as well, you know.
Bridie's just said, yeah, the webinars are great. You know they are happening and you need to engage, and the learning has been excellent. Thank you, Claire, and all the different presenters, keeping us connected and aware of ourselves and health and well-being. Thanks very much, Bridie. That's a lovely comment. But the webinars have been good. They're very different every day. Claire is giving her 20-minute consultation if anybody wants to click on the link. And also, if there are any trainers or consultants out there who would like some information about Trained In, please feel free to visit trainedin.ie or drop me an email at sorka@trainedin.ie. So, Claire, thank you very much for your time this morning. It's been a pleasure having you on. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. I know it's Easter week. You're very good. And some people probably had holidays planned. And we will leave it there. And we'll see you all soon, hopefully. Thank you very much, Claire. And talk to you soon.
Thank you,
Bye.
Bye.